having some funding left over at the end of the 3-year grant period, which for this one ends June 30th of 2025, and wanted to allow other CalHFA grantees to absorb some of those leftover funds if they could. So Public Counsel has proactively brought that to our attention. The agency, CalHFA, is supportive of reallocating that. So I wanted to just flag, because you'll probably hear about this again, this staff team and CalHFA, the agency, supported waiting until the end of this last July, when all CalHFA grantees have reported on at least 1 year of spending out of 3, to see if maybe it would be prudent to include Public Counsel's reallocation with a voluntary reallocation from other grantees if they also look like they were running cool. They might have funds left over. That data just came in and we're looking at it now. So I anticipate we'll come back to you later this fall or early winter with a proposal to reallocate either just Public Counsel's potentially unspent funds, or to combine it with potentially volunteered additional unspent funds. That's it. So I don't know if Rocio or Duan wanted to add anything, but that's just an FYI. And thank you, Public Counsel, for being so proactive.
Thank you, Chris. Melanie, Laura?
Yep. So hi, Melanie Snyder from Judicial Council. We got a couple of things to report today for you. First of all, you may know this, but we've got a new Chief Justice, Patricia Guerrero. She began in January, and the significance for us is that she is making some changes to our timelines and really doing her due diligence in exploring all things that the Judicial Council and the judicial branch are involved with. So some of our timelines that we used to line up are having a little miss now, including our nominations. So we will have information for you probably next week on our nominations. She's going to make her decision. So I wanted to update you on that. Secondly, we have great news about all of our funding requests on the IOLTA Partnership Grant, CARE, and Equal Access. We have submitted the funding request memorandum to the Judicial Council, and the decisions will be made at the September 18th and 19th council meetings. So soon after that, we will get our contracts flowing and money out the door. And so again, we should be right on track as soon as possible getting them the funding out. That I wanted to tell you just a little bit about, we have a couple of conferences coming up. So we have our annual AB 1058 conference will be happening in Burbank this year, August 28th through September 1st. We are also having a firearms relinquishment and domestic violence training convening at the Judicial Council offices in San Francisco on September 6th and 7th. And then finally, we were hoping to have a big self-help conference in February, and sadly, we've learned that we are not having that conference in February. So, we will figure out other ways to get words out. Great. But that is what I can think of. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thanks, Melanie.
Thanks for getting all the grants out so timely. That's really terrific. Shows good work, Melanie.
Thanks. And I have to throw in at least 50 cents, 75 cents of that kudos over to Laura Brown, because she really does a great job in writing all those memos and just making them so stellar and perfect that they just fly right through.
All right. Thanks, Melanie. Thank you, Laura. All right, Selena.
Selena, Legal Aid Association of California. I don't have a whole lot to report. For those of you who don't know me, I just returned from sabbatical. This is my second day back, and I'm still playing catch up myself. But I can say that what LAC is planning in the next few months, we're hoping to do another executive director retreat. We did one earlier this year, and I reported that to this commission. It went really well. A lot of the newer executive directors in our community have never met other executive directors in person. It's only been by Zoom or email. And it was really moving to hear people say like, I'm so glad to meet you. I finally feel like I have a community. I finally feel like I'm not alone. It was really amazing. And we're hoping to do that again because we had too much interest for the space we had. So it's one thing that we're hoping to do. We're also, really working in the rules revision process. I feel like that takes a lot of our energy to make sure that we understand the impact on programs. Because a lot of organizations that are smaller do not follow enough of the rules revisions proposals and they don't understand how it could impact them. And so we spend a lot of time just really understanding how it could impact programs of different sizes and then keeping those organizations informed. So we work a lot with the State Bar, with the Judicial Council, and that's pretty much my job.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
We don't know since Selena's been gone the last couple of months, so
I know, it-
yes, now she has an easier job
Yeah.
than she had the last couple of months. Thanks, Selena. So that brings us to the end of the agenda, but we have some departing commissioners, and I want to shout them out and say a couple words and then hand the floor to them. And so let me say first, Will, Jim, and Bonifay, this is their last full commission meeting. Will, as many of you know, has served a full term here as a public member, and I just have really come to appreciate your evolution over the last 4 years. You've always had the perspective of a client member that I think has just been extremely valuable. And as you've ramped into all this work, you've taken it on with aplomb, and you've spoken up, you've had your voice heard, and throughout this time, I think it's just been a terrific addition. So I want to appreciate you. Bonifay, you're a fierce advocate, a long-serving member with me, and you've served in leadership positions on the commission for many years. This is not a glory-filled job, and I know you know that. You've seen the commission through some ups and downs, and personally, you and I have spent a lot of time working on things, so I have a particular appreciation, not only for your perspective, but also just your, as my kids say, on the grind, your willingness to just sort of muck in and roll up your sleeves, and I've really appreciated that. And then Jim Meeker, who is another long-serving member, and I told Jim this in a call last week or the week before, and the thing I just have come to really appreciate about Jim is his reflexive response is very, however emotional it might be, he always retreats to the helpful empiricist. And it reflects not only a curiosity, but also like an intellectual honesty that I really have come to regard. You don't just say, this is what I think. You say, this is what I think, because I actually went back and I looked some stuff up and I read some things and I did a little bit of work, and let me report out what the data shows. And that experience and impulse has been really valuable, particularly, I think, during our Appendix I saga some years back. And again, like both Will and Bonifay, you've been a very hardworking commissioner. I think everybody recognizes your many contributions to the many committees over the years. And I certainly have really come to appreciate relying on your perspective. So I want to thank all three of you. And I just use my chair's privilege to say my nice things about you, all of which are well-deserved. But I want to give the three of you an opportunity to say what you'd like to say. Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure.
Can I say something too? So I want to echo Chris's thanks to all commissioners turning off. Will, I just want to share, your work on the rules committee has just been really instrumental. We implemented that client complaint process that, you worked so hard on. I'll just say we got a client complaint that we're processing, and because of that hard work, we are moving things along really quickly. So your contributions on this commission will be felt, or are being, we're executing that. And Jim also, you know, all of your work around kind of rural communities, you see that reflected in all of our RFPs. That's now, some of that work is reflected in kind of statute in terms of preferences to rural communities and underserved communities. So we can't thank you enough. And I've talked to you already about, you know, perhaps coming back and helping us on a consultant basis around some of our other work. So we do hope to kind of maintain kind of contact with you. And then Bonachet, I want to share a story about Bonachet, and I hope she doesn't mind that I share the story. So, you know, I've worked with Bonachet. Bonachet's been on the commission for 13 years now. She's probably our longest commissioner. 4 years ago, when I came back from maternity leave, Bonachet was the chair. It was a really kind of tough time, I think, for the office. There was a lot of transition. I think it was a tough period for the commission. A lot of transition, the aftermath of kind of the Appendix I. We had new leadership in place, and there was a recommendation that was on the table to kind of defund an organization at that time because there was some compliance. Bonachet was the chair. Bonachet was traveling. She was traveling abroad to get some medical help. But during this, I have to say, Bonachet, there was one, she had a procedure, and I hope you don't mind me sharing this. When she got out of the procedure, we had a call. Bonachet had they wheeled her out. She was in the hospital. She was so committed to this. She said, Duan, you know, excuse me, I might not all be there, but we really need to deal with this. So time zone change. She's in Germany. I was in California. We talked. We held that year for the commissioners that are there. We had 7 commission meetings that year because of the direction this office was going in. And we called the emergency meeting. We didn't end up defunding that organization. And I'll share with you, I had a call with that organization just a few days ago. And we didn't cut them. We put parameters on funding. We required them to do more stuff. They've grown in that 4 years from an organization of 7 or 8 to 30 plus. They're in a rural area. So your fierceness and your dedication to the commission, to the staff, like we can't thank you enough. So that's Bonachet for you. And then Chris didn't mention, but Chris is also turning off. He's been on the commission for since 2010. This is the second year I've had the privilege of working with Chris as a chair. I was driving into the city today, going over the bridge, thinking, you know, what am I going to say about Chris, right? We all know Chris is so smart. He's so charming. He's an excellent leader. But I have to say, the one thing that I admire about Chris is like his moral compass. He's a really good person. I always say, Chris, you know, what should we do? You know, our rules aren't always clear. There's not really a clear path forward. Guide us. And he's always like, we do kind of what is the right thing, right? The right thing might not lead us to like what we want. It might not, at least immediately, but that's all we can do is be guided by that. So I'd say like your moral compass and instilling that and like reminding me, and I think I try to remind the staff that all the time, like things might not go, but that's what we guide us when we don't know, is that moral compass. So I just want to thank you for your leadership, and you will be very missed by me and I think the whole staff and the commission. So thank you very much.
Let me turn it over to our departing commissioners. Will, you want to lead it off?
Okay, sure. I have a lot of gratitude for staff and commission members. It is always exciting when you get to work with people who are smart and sometimes smarter than you, and you're like, wow, I am learning so much. And over this period of 4 years, I have learned so much about how legal aid works in California. I joined because I have always been such a complainer about government.
And I had my daughter and I was like, well, do you want things to be better or not? Do you want to show up and help out? And I think it's important if you have those feelings to follow them and to volunteer in a way that's going to matter for not just us, but for our posterity. And that's been an honor to be able to work on something so important, not just increasing access, but also improving the quality. And I hope that mission continues because it's been something near and dear to me, especially moving from an urban environment to a frontier town and realizing, oh gosh, I had it really good here in LA in terms of legal aid, and there's still plenty of room for improvement out there. So to everybody here who takes it so seriously, and my deep gratitude, and I really appreciate all the work you do to improve the world as much as we can in this way. Thank you.
Jim?
Yeah, well, it's been interesting. It's lots of highs and lows, especially with IOLTA funding. I'm glad to go out on a high as opposed to going out on a low, but that's been good. Of course, disappointed I reapplied, but wasn't picked. But then again, there's an argument for new blood, so that's good. And I'll probably be continuing to interact with you all because I've been on the Access to Justice Commission since its formation in the working group days of Earl Johnson back in the mid-90s, and I'm still on it now. So I just hope that the little bit of friction we've had the last month or so gets smoothed out. And I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will.
Jim Barsham?
Goodness, I don't even know what to say. I mean, I think it's really important for me to start with how it began and to give the acknowledgement to some of our former commission members, the late Dick Odgers, who sent me an email in 2009 and said, can we talk? And then David Lash continued to keep that conversation going until I said yes. And I'm so glad I did to join this body and to think how many commission members, how many of them have turned into friends, how many staff and how many of those staff members have turned into friends. In thinking about this day, I was asked to consider reapplying and for reappointment. And I thought very similar to you, Jim, it's time for new blood, new innovative thinking, where this commission can go and all it can do. And if I have even a fraction of the contribution and service that this work has done for me and been for me the last 13 years, if I've been able to contribute even a fraction, I feel that I've done well. I've said this to many of you. I feel like this is God's work. We're here for the legal aid community, to have them and support them to do the work that they're here to do. Up and down the state of California, 90 something organizations. This body, this staff, COAF as the other side, our sister organization, watching the office transform to the office that it is today. So much I can't even in these 13 years I've been able to witness. It's been an honor to be here. It's been an honor to work with each of you. And I know that there are some bright paths ahead for each of you, and you're in amazing hands. And I know that with our chair and vice chair that are coming next year. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Chris. But before I do, just one shout out to you. It truly has been how many, I don't even know how many conversations we've had, Chris, text messages. What are we doing here? How do we do this? And how do we make sure that we can support the mission, the values, the protecting the work of this commission. And my friend, I'll say, my friend, it's so apropos to complete this journey with you as chair. So thank you for your leadership, your brilliance, your heart, your commitment. It's an honor to know you.
Thank you. That's nice to hear. And I appreciate that very much. I was asked recently about, how I define beauty. And I said, things that groups can accomplish that individuals cannot. That epitomized my sense of beauty. And I look at this group and I feel, I will echo what all of the departing commissioners have said. It has been a real honor to work with all of you. I do feel like the commission's in very good hands, and I look around this assembled group of bankers and professors and judges and lawyers, and I feel just really good about everybody's contributions and everything that they bring to the table, and so it over 10 years the work has increased, and I would say just as an illustration of that, I think that there are 4 or 5 more committee meetings to happen before we actually leave. So this is the end of our commission term, but I want to say a special thanks to staff, because this is board service is volunteerism, and I think all of us get that, but doing board work is fun if the staff that you're working with is a joy to work with, and it is a chore if they're not. And to be around subject matter experts, Dwan, Elizabeth, Rocio, Chris, Crystal, Erica, I mean, the list of folks over the years is really long, but I never regretted a call that came in or an email that was coming in, even though I knew it often meant more work, because the earnestness and the dedication and the hard work, it drips off you, Brady, as well. So I want to say thank you to the staff for really helping to prop all of us up. And I want to wish everybody luck. Like I said, we've got a few more committee meetings here. So I'm sure I'll see some of you in the future, but it really has been an honor, and I just appreciate everybody's pulling in the same direction. And that, like I said, it's what we can do together that bolsters me. One last just personal memory. We spent about 45 minutes about a year ago going around the table, and everybody shared a story about their first teacher. It was sort of a get to know you. These meetings fill the time that you allot them, and that's just a fact of human nature. But that was an insight into who everybody is, and I know it's hard on Zoom to accomplish that, but that's very bolstering. And I've thought over the months since that has happened about specific stories that people shared, and I would really encourage the commission to try to find ways to connect like that in the future, because I think it's really reaffirming, and it also reminds us that of our shared humanity, even though we come from different places, and we're going the same direction, I think. So thank you to everybody, and thank you, staff, and I'll see you all soon. And I guess unless anybody has anything else to say, I'll leave it one last chance. I will do the Bob Plant Hold Memorial motion to adjourn. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Have a good
Chris.
day. Thanks again.
Okay.
Yeah.